That is not the response to council member majority.
I know, that's right, sort of that.
Well, I can go Mr. Miyagi on, yes. You got fight.
Whether that would help or not.
Meeting city council order, please rise from the line and pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic and one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Councilmember Byerly.
Here.
Councilmember Conklin.
Here.
Councilmember Missouri. Here. Councilmember Stevenson. Councilmember Brinker.
Here.
Councilmember Morris.
Yeah.
Mayor Long.
Here. Approval of the minutes from the April 17th regular meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments, further discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly.
I will abstain. I was not in attendance.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Public comments and requests. You have anything, Greg?
I had nothing. Good
Anyone,
use
the
report.
public have anything?
My name is Amanda Keys and I live in Lock Haven. I just had a question about where maybe the arbitration is on the Lock Haven City Police on whether it's gonna be going part-time or staying full-time, if there's any information for the public to have.
Part-time, full-time is not part of the contract.
So there hasn't been any forward motion towards
No,
that.
it's not even something we're considering at this time.
Okay.
Anyone else have anything? Okay. Use of Hoberman Park for Haven Summer Youth Program.
The Haven Summer Youth Program is requesting the use of Hoberman Park on May 20th, June 3rd, 10th, and 17th for a youth program. It'll provide basketball games, crafts, and other activities for ages K through 12, as well as providing lunch. It's being offered at Flemington Park and the Clinton County Housing Authority in addition to Hoberman. And I'll work with them and make sure there's no schedule conflicts and make sure they provide a liability insurance.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
And a second. Any questions?
Does this
comments?
work in conjunction with the school district summer youth program?
It is separate, but the school district is during the week.
Okay,
So this would just be on weekends.
great, thanks.
Any other questions?
Just when do we break ground, for?
The
Hoberman
ceremony of the 19th.
Will we be doing any construction this summer or will this be,
Yes, the construction area will be like separated off.
so this won't affect?
And fence.
Anything else? Let's call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes,
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 4C, use of city streets for endless mountains.
The Endless Mountains Adventure Race is requesting permission to pass through city streets for their multi-day race from June 26th to July 1st. The racers will be spread out and follow traffic laws. There'll be no need to close streets at any point during this event. They will be going just on J Street down to Walnut Street. I did not provide a map, but I can provide it to you guys. The racers don't get the map ahead of time, so they're just asking it's not being shared too widely, but if anyone would like to see it, I can show that to them. But it won't affect traffic, like, there won't need to be any streets closed, they would just be following traffic laws, so.
Please, council.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion?
Who's I know the name of the organization is on there, but who's like the director of the?
Brent Friedland. Brent,
This is like, I saw this, I did some research. It's 325 miles,
mhm.
30 hours. So
Yeah. They'll be very staggered.
that's pretty exciting that they're gonna be traveling
Town, it'd be great.
through 325 miles to get here, and we're just part of that adventure, so pretty exciting.
Any other comments, questions? Call for the vote?
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yeah.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Any other requests?
I have none, Your Honor.
All right. Moved on, finished business. 5A, consideration of the addition.
You've got someone in the back that wants to speak.
She just got here, she was late.
I apologize, sir. I went to Piper. I wasn't certain. This is my first time in attendance.
State your name and where you live, please.
My name's Starlene Stam and I live in Castania Township.
Okay.
Both my grandsons attend Keystone Central School District. My 14-year-old grandson was attacked and assaulted January 23rd of this year over by Wise, what they call the skate park. There were Overman Park is, and then it leads that whole alleyway there. It's dark. I had initiated a fundraiser to put some streetlights in there because there was no witnesses. There was 15 youths that attacked him that night and nobody seen or heard anything. And this is about 7 o'clock at night, so it really wasn't that late, but it's so dark down that alley that nobody could see or anything. He waited until he came to and was able to crawl up the hill to what used to be Dickey Elementary
Correct.
to get help. And nobody had seen him. I had made several phone calls about getting some lighting and get that area cleaned up. Because there's always teens in there hanging out, you know, there's drug paraphernalia. I took a walk through, found some needles. Other propaganda that relates to drug use in that area. I called, I think it was the second week of February, into the city manager's office and said that I wanted to have a fundraiser to try to first raise public awareness and raise money to put some streetlights in there. I was told that that was already in the process and that they would probably be up in the next few weeks. Well, we're here in, what is it? May 1st, and there hasn't been anything done in that area. Are you aware of any?
Well,
anything that's gonna
only,
be
I'm
done
only
there?
in the sense that, Mr. Ritzer contacted me about, what you just described, and I did, forward his email to staff. Greg, you're here, do you want to address any?
I'm Greg Wilson, I'm the city manager. I've
Hi.
never actually spoken with you. so I
Yeah,
didn't tell
and
you
I
it would
talked
be up.
to, I believe there's in Parks and Recreation, I talked to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to you about, and you said that they were working on that there was a, plan and process that there would be streetlights and they were cleaning up that area.
Yeah, that we're going to be entering that phase for Hooperman Park that should be already in the process of being closed down, and we're gonna be breaking ground in a couple weeks.
So it's part of a larger project. That I think you may have misunderstood, help if I may step in. That what you meant was we're gonna be breaking ground in a few weeks to start this project, which may address what you're talking about. It's a grant funded project and it's gonna take a while to do.
Well, there's been a couple other assaults since the January 23rd assault that I'm aware of. And isn't there some way, wouldn't that be like an immediate community concern that these assaults are taking place in that area where I shop, I go get my groceries, if it happens to the teenagers, imagine if it was one of us older folks. I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry that I'm confused about where you're saying this is happening. Is it happening at Hoberman Park or is it happening at the Tiger? Where's this happening?
That alley that runs, I love my.
Here, I have a map of, so there's Leather Alley. that
Okay.
runs Straight from the parking lot over, and
If
then
you're-
here's Kite Alley, comes across.
If you're standing facing, like you're walking into Wise, the park's right over here.
That's the
That's the
Tiger,
Tiger
On
Den.
this side,
right, that's the Tiger Den part.
that fencing goes back so far. And then it goes through the alley, it's really dark, even I think it was another block over, there's one street light, but it seems really dim. And this was just at dusk that I could hardly see, looking back, I took some pictures.
So I can get a hold of our PPL contact and ask them to put, the snakehead poles on top.
Right, I think there's a misunderstanding that when you said Hoberman, that's over further, that's over by the skate park. Where you're talking about is beside the Tiger Den Park, which is where you come out of that alley and you're right by Wise's.
When you're
When you're-
leaving Wise, you have the playground there where they used to bring the students from Dickey.
Right, that's
And
the
you go
Tiger Den.
further back that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they call the skate park, and that's where a lot of this activity is taking place in that alley. Many years ago, when I was a young girl, the house right there by the park, she used to foster children. It's that whole alley there that's dark, you can't see.
Right, you're talking about the alley though that runs along the Tiger Den,
Right,
correct? Okay, I think that's where the confusion, you said Hoberman, we have a project that's going on in Hoberman, which is where the skate park is, the baseball field and so on. So that's where the confusion is. When you said Hoberman, staff's mind went to, okay, we're doing this big project over here, it's gonna be life, it's gonna be all changed. You're talking about a different area, which Tony said that he talked to.
Yeah, it's just, what she's kind of describing, that whole alley goes from Lights all the way to.
it does.
I think she's talking about, which runs by,
Actually, it doesn't go all the way to Hoberman, you're out of that alley, and it goes turns into a street then at that point.
And then you go across the street and there's another alley that leads over to where the ball field is by the house.
It's all straight.
That's running
That
this
whole
direction.
stretch is really dark in there.
yeah, I'll call PPL and I'll get some points on it.
All right. Cool. So his name is Tony Stopper. He is the Public Works Director.
Okay.
Okay,
And for the record, no charges have been filed yet on any of the.
police chief told me that.
Well, I was to the DA's office on Friday and they knew nothing of it.
I understand you had a meeting with the chief of police today and the detective.
I got a call from a Lieutenant Simpson and we didn't get to meet because I had to take someone to the hospital. But that still doesn't answer, he has the name of the perpetrators that were involved from January. They just have not acted. What Mr. Simpson told me was, it's not what we know, it's what we can prove. And that's why charges haven't been filed.
I have an email from the chief that says that charges have been filed in 2 cases involving your grandson.
Yes, he was
So I
assaulted
think I'll
twice.
check with chief about that because
Council doesn't file charges, the police department does. So if you have a meeting with the chief of police, it's best to attend that meeting.
Oh, I agree. I've been
And
to the
have-
police station numerous times.
Right. So today you were scheduled for a meeting.
No, I wasn't scheduled. I said I would.
Oh, the police said
Because
they
I was
scheduled.
actually meeting a contractor this morning, so I wasn't certain I would be back in time. And I actually had a family emergency and had to take my other grandson to urgent care. So, I did leave a message with Mr. Simpson. Is he the chief of police?
no, the chief.
That's the only person I've had contact
Chief
with.
Rickard.
That's who, Mr. Simpson is the only person I've had contact,
Interesting. We should move on.
and there's no
Okay.
meeting scheduled.
Well, thank you, and he's gonna work on something for you, lights wise, and if you can talk to the police department, they're,
Okay,
they
sure,
handle
I'd love
that.
to be able to donate my time or whatever, get something there.
Okay, so we are on unfinished business. 5A, consideration of issuing letters directed to Suburban Water Authority.
After several months of discussion with Suburban Water Authority, I reached out to the city's attorney with Saltzman Hughes, Sam Weiser, who prepared a letter that is part of council packet that directs the Suburban Water Authority to relocate the water line affecting 33 and 35 Sylvan Drive at the authority's cost prior to June 30th, 2023. The letter also cites the law that Suburban must be compliant with when occupying a city right of way. This adoption of this letter, or I should say authorization to issue this letter, will enable council to move on to item B, which is the reconsideration of Sunset Lines Phase 2.
Do I have a motion?
So.
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Further discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 5B, reconsideration of the bid for Phase 2 of Sunset Pine.
This is the bid that originally came before council in February, and the contractor, who was the lowest bidder, HRI of State College, has agreed to extend the bid price of $240,310 for Phase 2's improvements.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Further discussion, questions, comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yeah.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 5C. Yes, this is you, Greg. Welcome.
Okay. Brought some letters to hand out too. The law firm that you referenced, that's not, is that your solicitor?
It's a city law firm that we use, Saltzman Hughes.
Where are they at?
Chambersburg, Pennsylvania.
This was a letter that we received from Tony Stoffer. The only reason I'm giving you copies of this is it's referenced. In the letter from our solicitor, which is Paul Ryan. Address you. Thanks.
Is this the first we're seeing this, Greg Wilson?
Yes, I have received this prior to this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I actually just picked it up from Paul Ryan's office this afternoon. I'll just read it aloud for the other members in attendance. Dear Greg, this letter is in relation to the ongoing dispute between Suburban Lock Haven Water Authority and the city concerning the Sylvan Drive restoration project and the relocation of Suburban's water line. It is my understanding that the city has demanded that Suburban relocate its water line on Sylvan Drive as part of the city's rehabilitation project. I have advised Suburban that because the line was in place prior to the streets dedication to the city, Suburban cannot be compelled to relocate the line. Additionally, since February 18, the city waived its permit fees and historically waived the permit requirement for streets, for street excavations and openings. Suburban Sylvan Drive project was completed in 2022 in accordance with the specifications approved by the city's Director of Public Works. As such, Mr. Stoffer's letter of March 22nd, 2023 constitutes an illegal attempt to retroactively enforce that section of the city's code regarding openings and excavations. Notwithstanding the foregoing, I've been advised that in the spirit of cooperation, Suburban has agreed to move the line, including backfilling of the trench and compacting the stones up to the finished level of the road. It is my further understanding that this was conditioned upon the city being responsible to install the base coat in the trench and repay the Sylvan Drive as part of the rehabilitation project. I've further been advised that the city has rejected this proposal. The purpose of this letter is to confirm that Suburban will not be relocating the water line unless and until the above conditions are agreed to. If the city would like to continue negotiating concerning this project, you can feel free to contact Suburban's manager, Gregory. In my conversations with Paul Ryan, Sunset Pines development was initiated when it was still in Allison.
Mr. Mays, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you are not a lawyer, nor am I, nor is anyone else on council. We've engaged lawyers. So at this time, with council first seeing this letter right now, which you read aloud, the city solicitor, which is involved from Saltzman Hughes, the city's attorney for water. I know you would prefer we use the solicitor who's a partner with your lawyer, Justin Hauser, but instead that's a conflict of interest. So the city chose a different lawyer that it uses from Saltzman Hughes. That lawyer will have to read and digest this information, and that lawyer will be in contact with Suburban's lawyer.
Okay, I was just going to explain what Paul Ryan had.
That's something Paul can explain to the city's lawyer. But it's nothing that council can make any decision about this evening. That's something for the lawyers to argue about.
If I may. If I can, because I'd like to ask the council members who sat here on this board with me whenever we took the action at one point to waive the permit fees. My recollection may be wrong, but I don't ever remember waiving, as it says here, the permit requirements. My understanding was only waiving the fee. Is that how those of you who sat with me at that time, we rescinded that now, but at the time, did we remove the requirements of actually doing a permit and doing what needed to be done?
Well, my recollection was that we were very specific that the permit requirement would remain in place, but the associated fees would be waived from 2018.
That is my recollection as well. I didn't want to go based on mine.
I can confirm, Your Honor, the letter sent to Suburban immediately after that meeting does clarify that they are still required to obtain permits. So I'm not sure where their lawyer got the impression that they did not have a requirement to get a permit, because that was in place, that has always been in place, that has never been waived. The only thing council waived for a temporary time period was that Suburban would have to pay that fee so that the cost to the city taxpayers.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify with those of you who sat here with me at the time we voted to do that, so. Anything else?
No, the only thing I was trying to say was that development and the infrastructure in Sunset Pond was there prior to its annexation into the city. And that's what Paul Ryan was basing his recommendation.
Okay. Thank you.
Letter from the city is here.
You can drop that right off.
Okay.
5D, consideration of membership requirements to the levy advisory committee.
This is an oddity of procedure. Kind of like a palate cleanser for Robert's rules. So there is a committee that was established by resolution. In the committee, it does call out that citizens are the appropriate people to make decisions on the levy advisory committee. Subsequent to that, it came to my attention that an individual who was appointed to that committee is not actually a citizen, that be a resident of the community. They are a property owner and thus a taxpayer. However, that isn't really spelled out in the committee paperwork. So council sets those rules under the third class city code. And so council just needs to clarify what decision you make this evening, I'll bring back to you in an official form, probably a resolution since it was originally in resolution form. But whether council wants to include residents and property owners, or have this committee be just residents, which is where citizen comes into play. Although again, Lock Haven doesn't issue passports, but
Okay, so we can't take action tonight on this, right? But we need to give them guidance on what we would like to brought forward, if any. And the guidance, maybe we want it to remain the way it is, so.
right, if it is, it would just cause a vacancy, rescinding the appointment.
Right.
If you want to change that, we can bring a resolution to you to make that update.
Is this individual's first appointment to this board?
No. This individual's been appointed numerous times. It's just the first time it came to my attention, the individual is not a resident.
Setting as the levy liaison from council. I attend 95% of the meetings, and Mr. Pedlow has also had a great attendance, always offers good, from when he lived here, knowledge of the levy when it was built, and different aspects of it. So I would consider a resident or a property owner, because I think you'd like to continue to serve on that board, and he is greatly added to it. So I would amend the resolution to include property owner, because they have some vested interest also, not just the citizens inside the pond here. That's the way I think, but he's a good member of the board.
And we're not just talking about this board, we're talking about
You
all.
are just.
Right,
We're
exactly.
just talking
Just
about
this board,
just this board.
Just, we're not talking about just this specifically, this member, we're opening it up and. then
But just
down the
this
road,
board, like-
someone different.
This is one of only two committees that is not established by ordinance. Traditionally, you would establish one by ordinance and you would say what the specifications are of membership. This one wasn't established that way, so it's not in the codification. So we finally were able to come across the resolution, find what it speaks to. So in this case, we just need some clarification.
Right, and it's an advisory committee, it is not the levy authority. So it's an advisory only.
Is this committee, did the city form it on its own motion, or was there some federal requirement that there should be?
No, as it was explained to me, the intention was that the flood authority, which is a funding authority, not an operating authority, would dissolve at the end of the project. And instead, the levy advisory committee would take over the role of when you want to make requests for the use of their property or the flowage easement. But the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers basically changed its mind and wanted to keep the flood authority, which still is a funding authority that the federal government says can operate the way it does. So this particular committee, the public works director has brought up during the budget last year about forming an overall public works committee, which this committee could eventually be enveloped into that. When that was originally something that was brought up during the budget season, it would be, let's say, as an example, 2 people from each ward. Those would be the kind of point people that would advocate for which projects in their ward for curb installation, sidewalks, park improvements, stormwater, things like that would be priority items. And certainly something like the levy could be added as part of that, but that isn't in place today. But that could be developed into that larger committee eventually.
Well, since I mean, I see that in the preamble, there's references to citizens and but in the meat and potatoes of the resolution, it is entirely silent as to who these 7 people should be.
Right.
So my view would be we should just leave this thing alone.
Okay, so we have 2 that think that we should amend it and 1 that feels that we should leave it alone. Thoughts so that we know, if you can give the city manager some direction, please.
I'd be okay with amending it to include property owners.
Yeah. I mean, he has a vested interest. He wants to be a part of the community, have a voice. I don't see why not.
You're the only one I haven't heard from.
I'm
You're okay.
kind of like, don't have an opinion other than, unfortunate that, the situation rose the way it did. But, I think that, we have other groups where property owners are included, rather than just, residents. So I'm okay with,
You have your correction.
changing it.
Okay,
Have to mark the vote on that, so
no, it's not.
No, it'll come back to you.
He wanted some guidance. It's not an actual action item other than giving you guidance into the vote to be made.
It'll come back to you at the next meeting as a resolution amending the existing.
Okay. All right. 5E, notice the appeals.
I'm sorry, before we just leave that,
Go ahead.
if we do amend it, we would have no authority to apply it retrospectively, though, right?
No, but you can also reappoint him.
Where he was appointed for 3 years.
I'm not arguing with that point.
Anything else, Richard?
No,
Thank you. Notice of PLCB approval of the noise ordinance waiver.
The Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board has provided notice that through July 31st, 2028, the city's noise ordinance will preempt the liquor controls portion on amplified noise at the city's request.
I think it's important to note that although the agenda item says approval of noise ordinance waiver, it doesn't mean we don't have a noise ordinance. It means the city's ordinance will be enforced in place of PLCB 1.
That's correct.
We don't want anyone to think that it's okay just to be,
Loud.
yeah, it would be ridiculously loud at midnight. And then no one's gonna make us think about it. Barb's gonna be really loud now. Okay, any other unfinished business?
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay. New business 6A, consideration of resident request to amend chapter 380.
So this request is from a resident at 359 Third Avenue. They are requesting the placement of a handicap parking sign in front of their property. So recommendation to council will be to direct city staff to provide an ordinance amendment for council consideration.
comments. Did anybody else on council drive by there?
No.
By any chance? 359? You're familiar with it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't drive.
Yeah, it's
Saw it.
I was gonna say it's in the housing. I think they should reach the housing first to see if that can be accommodated. About every 10 years or in my 15 years here, remember Alan probably can remember back there that different times, people in the community have come forward and done the same, had the same request. And we said, wow, it's a public street, sorry for your situation. And we just can't do it because we can't enforce, we can't, it's the cost of the signs and installation and the posts, and it's like, it's not, we can't give private parking stalls. There was a whole list of reasons. And so I think they should reach out to the housing authority first to see if they couldn't give them a better accommodation. That's the third time I drove by since Friday, and there's a trailer parked there. I don't know whose trailer it is, but it's legal on the street except for sweeper night. And unfortunately, those rentals there, those apartments have assigned parking spaces. So they already have a place to park. And it's handicapped to get down to the parking area where they could park their vehicle. I don't know the people. I have no skin in this game whatsoever, but I think there's other things that they can do first before they come and ask us to put up signs. And I'm sure there's 80 to 100 other people in this community that have a handicap sticker in their vehicle. And I think it would snowball, we'd be setting a bad precedence to
We
go
already
forward.
have limited on-street parking as it is.
Yes, and so I would think that we should ask them to do something else first before we even officially consider it, or just say, no, I'm sorry, we're not doing that. If it comes to a vote tonight. That's,
Well, if I don't have a motion, it doesn't go through.
okay.
So. Is there a motion for this? That's for lack of motion. Thank you. 6B. Consideration of resolution 2023-15.
This is the annual resolution proclaiming Emergency Medical Services Week from May 21st to the 27th in the city of Blockhaven.
Move resolution 2023-15.
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris, Mayor Long.
Yes. Six C. Consideration of support of Westchester Borough Stormwater Fee and brief.
The Pennsylvania Municipal League has been invited to submit an amicus brief. The league has reached out to its members to see if they are interested in reviewing and then signing on to the brief that the municipal league intends to file. And so if council is interested, then they would make a motion to sign on to the same, and this form would be provided to Amy Sturgis at the municipal league. Thank you to Councilmember Stevenson for bringing this forward. I didn't get the email from Amy, but I received it from Steve and was able to add it to your agenda for your consideration.
So we're looking for a motion to authorize the letter of support, or are we?
No, you'll actually just sign on to the brief, so you basically will get a copy of the municipal leagues.
Okay.
And then if you're in agreement with it, you'll be added as a municipality to those supporting Westchester Borough's claim.
And we're in that same situation, so what happens to them helps us, or an amicus brief is not being a lawyer. It's called friend of the court, and it's to give information, history, documentation to like Westchester in their case, saying that we're in the same situation, and this is why we need to have that pass through. So I think you should become part of the whole package and support another city, which will help us. So when we enact it, it'll pass legal battles.
Great. Any other new business?
You need a motion to,
So I just asked you a minute ago, I thought you said I didn't need to do that. Do I have a motion for this?
So
Second.
motion floor, we've discussed it. Any further comments?
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Is this motion to give us the opportunity to look at the brief, or is it a blanket approval that we will be part of it?
We would be part of it, but we will have the opportunity to review it. So you could
Don't we need-
later on pull your name from it.
Okay, no, I just, when we have the opportunity to review it.
Any further questions?
Nope.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yeah.
Councilmember Freaker.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes,
Mayor Long.
Yes. Okay, now do we have any new business?
I've none, Your Honor.
Okay. The reports on old and Caspian approval.
There are 2 weeks worth of old updates, including photographs, which is moving along. And those also go to Greg at Suburban Water Authority each week.
Yeah, I get those emails.
And then there's a letter I just received on Friday. Although it's dated April 7th. That the Dirty Dappers have been provided basically permission to use the right of way on Nittany Road in Castania Township for their great dual sport ride. And the city authority has some questions about that, so I encourage them to reach out and find some more information about Nittany Road and its right of way.
We had a partnership. We have a timeout coming up. That's fine.
What's that one?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know what you
Tell us all about it. It's a
Okay.
big deal.
May 18th, the city is partnering with Downtown Lock Haven Inc. for the Economic Partnership Timeout. It'll be from 5 to 7. We will be discussing all the events this summer with Downtown Lock Haven. Showing off the new Fallon Alley and also announcing our 2023 Summer Concert Series, which is the 25th year of our summer concert series.
Yeah. See when it started.
Or you could use the parking lot across the street where we had timeout before for overflow. I think the alley might get a little crowded.
We can use the, like. we can-
Parklet at the other
Yeah,
end.
but we looked at it today and we think there's plenty of space for it.
It does get wider toward the parking lot.
Yeah,
Well, that has that little code where the electric is there.
but half of it will be being used by the Main Street Grill, is that right?
not until Memorial Day, so we still have.
Oh,
time.
okay, so we have the whole alley.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. 25th year for the concert series. I hope everybody can make it. Those of us who serve on the committee are excited about it. Can't wait for things to start.
Not to be a downer, but is there an alternative location if it rains?
No,
Oh.
we have lots of tents.
Huddle under tents, I guess.
The time out comes to dry out.
Right.
Does anyone else have anything to bring before council? Council members? Anything?
May 4th here, LSU is having their spring concert at 6:30. They'd like to
That
attend
price
that price, when last year was very nice.
is,
Community's more welcome to attend that.
yeah, I went last year. It's very nice. Great show. Anything else? Does anyone else have anything to bring before council?
I just had one more question, I guess. Whenever, in the April article from the Express, sorry, my name is Amanda, he's from Lock Haven. And it said about how PSP would cover any other time that wasn't covered by Lock Haven. I just wanted to know what kind of would be the backup plan for when there became to be too many calls and then other people were on a priority. Recently, I was looking at the police scanner and Renova is having that issue, so I was just trying to think of ways of how maybe I could bring the ideas to them of if you guys talked about like backup plans for if that were to come to fruition.
Well, we haven't really discussed not doing 24 hours as a council at this point, so we really haven't talked about any of that.
And I think in all fairness, your question was, your original question was, where do things stand with the arbitration? We don't know. And we won't know until all of that comes back to us. And so
It's a legal proceeding.
and we cannot
comment.
allowed to talk about it or comment about it. And so this is nothing that's really even been discussed.
But it is still kind of in process then, is that right?
The negotiation is in the hands of the arbitration, the arbitrator, so
But the
it's
24-hour thing is not part of that.
that, no, it isn't, and it's not something that has even ever. It's, yeah, we can't, we're not supposed to talk about it, and it's just not, it's not something that any of us have even considered.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have anything? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You do.